Hello, and welcome to Finale to Dorico, Conquering the Transition. My name is Jason Loffredo, and I'll be your guide today as we learn all about page templates and title design and even paragraph styles in Dorico. Now, I'm going to take a slightly different approach today, and I'm actually just going to design some titling for what would be a film score cue, and I'll try to explain what I'm doing along the way, and I'm hoping that you'll be able to pick up on the concepts and the techniques that I'm using so that you can then apply them to whatever specific titling design that you may need for your projects. So the first thing I'm going to do in Dorico is actually go to the layout options, and I'm going to deal with the margins, and hopefully this will become clear a little bit later in the video. But I currently have all of my margins set to 1/2 inch. Yeah, 12.7 millimeters is 1/2 inch. But I want the bottom margin to be half of that, so I want this to be 1/4 inch. And incidentally, even if you're showing millimeters in this window, you can still type in inches. Just type 0.25 IN. And when you click away from that field, it will convert it nicely to millimeters for you. So you don't even need to switch the units here. So I'm going to apply that to the full score, and I'm actually going to do the same thing with all the parts for the bottom margin, 0.25. And you do have to type 0.25. 0.25 won't work. 0.25 inches, hit apply, and close. Hopefully this will make more sense later when I'm designing some of the footers. All right, so I've done that. The next place I'm going to go is the project info, which has a shortcut Command I. And this may look familiar to you. There's some fields here that you can use to enter all kinds of information like title, subtitle, and everything. This is very similar, and I'll just open Finale real quick. This is very similar in Finale to the score manager in the file info side. You have the same type of stuff. You have title and subtitle, composer, and all this stuff. Now, when you add these things in Finale, they're called text inserts, right? So you'd fill in the information here and then add a text insert in the score itself. That's how Finale does that. In Dorico, it's the same idea, except these are called tokens. It's just different terminology. And the other thing that's different between Dorico and Finale is that you have information for the project, but you also have separate information for each flow. Now, I only have one flow in this particular project, but you can see as I switch between these, you're going to have different information between the two. And if I had 3, 4, 5, or however many flows, all of the flows can have their own unique information. So in some ways, there's actually way more tokens in Dorico than there are text inserts in Finale. But the idea here is that you can use this in a certain way. So for me, in a film score, for example, for the project information, I'm going to think of that as the general information for the made-up movie that I'm going to do. So the project title is actually going to be the movie title. The flow title is actually going to be the title of the cue itself. And this will certainly work well if you have multiple flows. I mean, I only have one flow, but I'm still going to use it in this way. So I'm just going to fill in some stuff here. The project title, I'm going to invent a movie here called Dorico 6, The Return of the Jetty. Okay, so that's my made-up movie. The composer is going to be me. And the other thing about these fields is that you don't have to use them for what they are. There is no orchestrator token, but I'm just going to hijack the arranger token. It doesn't matter. You can use these for whatever you want. And I'm going to say orchestrated by my alter ego, JLo. Okay? And the other thing I might want to do, let me just put a copyist information here. Music services, right? Because this is all information that would be common to the whole film score, right? And then for the cue itself, I'm going to enter a title here. Let's just call this, I don't know, 3M2. Let's say this is version 3.0. For the subtitle, we're going to call this The Rescue of Horn Solo. There we go. All right, so that's my subtitle. And the other thing I'm going to want here is I actually want a revision date on this. And again, there is no revision date token field here, but I'm going to just use the thing that's closest, which is probably the composition year. And we'll say REV period for 3025, right? So I've entered some information. If you have more information, you can use all of this as you need. But this is how I'm going to do this. And I'm actually going to change the flow number name here to 3M2, just like that. Okay, so I got all this set. I'm going to hit apply and I'm going to close. And initially, Dorico is going to put the project title at the top of the page, which is fine. That's the way that Dorico sets it up. If you only have one flow, it's going to use the project title here, but we can change this, and I will change this as we edit these titles. Now, I mentioned this in the previous video on Engrave mode about using the frames subtool in Engrave mode to add text on the page. And you don't really want to do that in Dorico, because when you do that, if I were to add a text frame here and just enter something, it doesn't matter, right? This text is only going to appear on the score, first of all, because Dorico separates the score and the parts. This is unlike Finale, because you know that if you were to add a text, which I'll try to do here, and with anything in it, this will actually show up in the score. And if I go over to a part, it will be in the part, not in a great place, but you get the idea. So that text block is going to show up everywhere when you add it to the page in Finale like that, right? That's not the case in Dorico. These text fields are only going to appear on the specific layout that you added it, if you're doing it in Engrave mode like this with the frames tool, right? And in addition to that, when you do that, over on the right side under the pages section, this first page now has this little red triangle. This red triangle is indicating that this page now has a page override. And what is it overriding? It's overriding the use of the page templates, which is where the main design of the titles are. And now that I have that number 1 selected, there's nothing highlighted down here in the page templates, but watch if I select number 2, now you see the default page is selected. Same with 3, same with 4, same with 5, etc. But 1 is no longer using the page template. This is important because if you then go and make changes to that first page template, that's not going to apply to this first page anymore, because by adding this text block directly on the page, you've told Dorico to override anything that's in the page templates and will no longer follow it. So we can eliminate this, or we can undo this simply by right-clicking that and choosing Remove Page Override. The text block goes away, the red triangle goes away, meaning that this is now a default page, and you can see that is the first page template is highlighted now, meaning that this page 1 is following the first page template, right? This concept is very unique in Dorico. There's nothing like this in Finale, so I'm just taking a little bit of extra time to explain this because I think it's really important. And this is all to say that ultimately, when you're designing the titles, the best place to do that is not directly on the page, but in the page templates themselves, which is what I'm going to show you. So the way that you do this is you just select one of them. We're going to start with the first one, and you can press this pencil icon or just double click it, and you'll open the page template editor for that first page. Now you'll notice right away that there's actually 2 pages. There's a left page and a right page. Now 99% of the time the first page of a score is going to be a right page, but there are occasions when it's possible that the first page could be a left page. So Dorico is providing both. And basically what it's saying is that if the first page is a left page, it's going to use this design. If the first page is a right page, it's going to use this design. Now, you probably want them to be exactly the same, which is why they add these buttons here, copy page layout left to right, right to left. So you don't need to design it in both sides. You just need to design one side and then copy it to the other side, which is exactly what I'm going to do. And I'm just going to edit the one on the left because that's just what I'm used to doing. So let's get to designing this. So you see these green boxes, these are the text boxes, and you see this blue box. This blue box is the main music frame, right? The music is essentially going to go inside the boundaries of this blue box, which means that if you change this blue box, which you can do, then all of the music is going to be contained within this space. So you're going to be wasting a lot of space. So what I'm going to do with this first page, because I want to add a whole bunch of extra information besides just this one line of title, I'm actually going to drag this down to give me a lot more room for my titles. The other thing about these boxes, whether they be music frames or text frames, is that if you open the Properties panel, whenever you have something selected, you can see the frame's margins and how they're connected to the margins and all that stuff. And what this is saying is that it's 0 millimeters from the left margin, it's 0 millimeters from the right margin. It's a little bit off of the bottom margin, and actually I'm going to change this so that the bottom margin for the music frame is 1/4 of an inch. And you can do the same thing, 0.25 IN, and press return, and it will get to exactly 1/4 of an inch. And the top margin is now set to 50.45, but for all of us that are OCD, I'm going to set that to exactly 50 millimeters, right? So you can adjust these frames by the numbers, right? And now you can see it's affected the left page, but not the right page. So again, just make sure you copy left to right and hit apply just to be sure that the changes that you're making are going into effect, right? And so now I'm going to start designing my titles. The first thing is I want this title, main title, to be a little bit lower on the page, so I can simply just drag that down a little bit. And I'm going to open this box up a little bit because I want some more information there. And the other thing you can do with these frames, there's a vertical alignment section in the properties panel here. And in this case, I do want to actually top align these, right? Because I'm going to add a bunch of extra information under that. Now you see this string of letters and symbols, curly brackets, at project title, at curly bracket. This is the token, right? This is calling on the token from the file, the project information that we had just talked about. And the project title is exactly that. This is the project title. So that's why the Dorico 6 Return of the Jetée is appearing on the score currently. But what I actually want there is the flow title, right? So what we can do is we can actually just edit this. I can actually just type flow instead of project title, and that would actually fix it. And if I do this and hit apply, and when you close this, you can see the result of your design. So now I have the correct 3M2 3.0. So let's go back here and re-edit this. The other thing you do, you don't have to memorize all of these tokens. It's very easy to get them just by right-clicking. You can see all of the possible tokens from the project info or the flow info, and a whole bunch of other useful tokens are all here ready to be used. So you don't actually have to type all this crazy stuff. The next thing I want is I'm going to press return, and I'm going to add the flow subtitle, right? And then the other thing that I want right here is the revision date. And I think I had used the flow info composition year for that, right? So just very quickly, I can add all three of those tokens into this text block. Make sure I copy, apply, and close. And yeah, I'm on my way. I've got the title I want, I've got the subtitle, and I've got the revision date. Now, they're all the same size, they're all the same font, all the same everything, right? This is not really how I want to design this. I want to do something a little bit different. I want this to be bigger, the subtitle to be a little smaller, and the revision date to be even smaller still. So what you can do is you can go in here and highlight these things, and you literally could, you know, fix the sizes here, and then do these and fix the sizes and change it to italics here. That's one way to do it, but I'm going to show you a slicker way to do this using paragraph styles. And you note that with all of this highlighted, currently this text frame was using the title paragraph style. This little symbol here means paragraph style, and you get a list of options, and there's a bunch of paragraph styles to choose from. And that's literally what they are. You choose one of these and it changes the font or the size or the style, however you have it set up, right? So currently all three of these lines are using the title paragraph style. We can edit these paragraph styles in the library window. I have to exit there. It's the third option here, paragraph styles. And if we scroll down, we can find the title paragraph style. And you can see that there's some parameters here for size and font and style and alignment and all that stuff. But if you look at the upper right-hand corner, there's this thing. It says parent default text. What does that mean? Well, if I go to the default text paragraph style, right, there's a whole bunch of things that are set in the default text paragraph style, including the fonts, including the size, the style, the case, all this stuff, the alignment, all of these are set. This default text paragraph style is like the main parent of all of the text styles, or most of the text styles in this list. And this title paragraph style is basically following the parent, the default text, which means that everything that's not set differently will be the same as the default text paragraph style. And you can tell which is following the parent by the fact that the check marks are not checked. So the font you can see is unchecked. That would be checked, that's unchecked, which means that it's going to follow the font. So if I change the default text font, it's going to change the title text font as well. Anything that's checked with the blue mark here, this means that these are unique relative to the parent. So the 20-point size is different than what the normal default text paragraph style, which is 12, right? So that's how this works with the parents, and it's a hierarchy of paragraph styles, right? So in this case, I think 20 is too small. I'm going to go all the way up to 30. For the size here, this is all good, regular and alignment, that's all good to go. So I'll just press OK. And you can see right away that everything just got a lot bigger, right? Now, that's fine for that title, but I want the subtitle to be smaller. And what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to add another paragraph style. So go back into this window. And the best way to do this is to choose whatever it is you want to be the parent of that new paragraph style and use the second button here, which is New from Selection. So you're making a duplicate of the default text paragraph style, and it will do just that. It will call it default text 2, but I'm going to call this subtitle. Now, this subtitle is a child, as it were, of the default text, right? The only difference I'm going to make here is in the size. Let's try 18, and I want this to be italicized, and I do have to watch for the alignment because the default text is aligned left. We're going to align center and click OK. So now I have a new paragraph style. Now I can go in here and select just that line, and in this menu change to the subtitle paragraph style. Just like that, and you can see that it got smaller, it got italicized, right? So that's the idea here. I'm going to do the same thing with the revision date. So let's add another one. Default text, duplicate. Let's call this revision dates. Same thing. The size is going to be, let's go with 13. Style regular is fine. Make sure that our alignment is center. Click OK, and then go in here and select that. And go in here and find, what did I call it? Revision date, right? There it is. And so now I have, 3 different sizes and styles and everything, and I'm much happier with my design, and I'm going to apply, and I'm going to close so we can see the results. That's closer to what I want, right? Now, the advantage of using the paragraph styles at this point is that you don't have to go into the page template designer to fix the sizes, right? So if I wanted that title to be a little bit larger, for example, all I have to do now is go to the paragraph style for title and just change that to 32, and it will make that change. I don't have to go in and edit the page template. If I think the subtitle is too large, I can do the same thing. I can go to subtitle, let's make it 16, right? And it will get just a little bit smaller. So that's one of the advantages of using the paragraph styles. So let's keep editing a little bit. I want to add some extra stuff. For the project composer, that's right, but I do want to have the orchestrator listed below that, so I'm going to make this a little bit larger. Let's also top align it, and I think we want this to go, oops. Just select that one and get this much lower. And then I'm going to go in here, and below project composer, I'm going to add, I think it was project arranger, right? Yep. And that should be good to go, and hit left, right, hit apply, and I should have both. Now this particular text field, this is actually using the composer paragraph style, so this is already set. So if I wanted that to be a little bit different, I can just simply go into the paragraph style, make the composer paragraph style. I think it's too small, so let's bring it up to like 13. Let's try that. All right, so there we go. There's some other information I want here. Now, there is a Project Lyricist text field here, which we're not using Lyricist for this particular type of music, but I do need a layout name. I need this to show that this is the score, right? So what I'm going to do is actually pull this one all the way up to the corner. Let's also top align it. Let's change this from the Project Lyricist token. If I just delete that and right-click, again, these are the project and flow info tokens, but there's other types of tokens. In this case, I want to use the layout name token. Now, it's still using the Lyricist paragraph style, so let's actually change this. I believe there is a layout name paragraph style already in here, and we'll do that. And let's see what that looks like. Yep. Now, in this case, the boxing the layout name is something that some people do. It's not something that I like to do, but that can be changed in the paragraph style as well. So if we find layout name, you'll see that, again, this is using the default text parent, but it also has these border options. So I'm just going to uncheck those so that we do not have that border anymore. And let's just make it slightly larger. How about 15? There we go. So that's the way I want it to look. And incidentally, these tokens for the layout names, those are found in the setup mode, actually. So whatever your layout is called, that's what's going to be put over here. And actually, I don't want full score. I want this to say concert score. and you'll see that it will update in the upper left. And you can do that with any of your layouts. If you don't want this to say flute 2 and piccolo, just write flute 2 or whatever. So let's go back here and let's keep going because I want to put the project title in the upper right-hand corner. So let's edit this. Now at this point, I need a new text frame because I'm missing something at the top right. So we're going to just design it. We'll just click the text frame here and then sort of drag out a new box. Now at this point, I do want to make you aware of what Dorico calls the constraints. These are kind of important when you're designing these text items. If I select the ones that were already here, like this one, you can see that the constraints are set to the top and the left. The bottom and the right ones are turned off. This one in the middle is set to the top, the left, and the right. This one over here is set to the top and the right. Generally, you want these locks to be, closest to where they are on the page. And the way that this works is that if you have only one vertical and one horizontal constraint, then it's sort of locked to that corner, right? Does that make sense? So this particular text frame is locked to that corner with whatever offsets you have. In this case, the top offset is 25.4 millimeters. So this text frame is 25.4 millimeters down from the top corner. It's still at 0, meaning it's against the right margin. But when you only have 2 of them, you get width and heights, which means that the text frame is a set width and a set height. When you have both of either the left and right or the top and bottom selected, you're going to lose some of those width and height options. So now I have a width, but I don't have, I have a height, but I don't have a width. With my music frame margin, they're all 4 is selected, right? So I'm not getting any width and height. The reason why these constraints behave like this is because with these constraints set like this, if they're all locked, they're locked to the margins, right? That's important because if you ever change the size of the page, then the actual size of the frame is going to stretch or shrink if all 4 locks are set like that, right? The thing is, for these boxes that are kind of pinned to a corner, you don't want them to shrink or expand. You want them to be set. And so that's why you would only have 2 constraints. This is sort of similar in some ways to what Finale does here with the frame attributes, like you can have the alignment and positioning being top right. That's basically the same idea. It's just a different way of expressing that concept. This text block is set to the top right. This text frame right here is set to the top right. It's the same idea. But anyway, so I've added this new text frame. Let me just make it a little bit wider. Again, I do want it to only be locked to the top and right. So I'll unselect the bottom and left ones. And we want to make this top aligned as well. And I'm going to click in here. And the thing I'm going to add is the project title, right? Because that was the movie title. And you can see it is left aligned because when you initially add a text into a text frame, it's going to use the default text. So what I'm going to do is create a new paragraph style for this project title. So we'll go through the same thing. Default text, duplicate. We'll call this project title. And let's see, we'll make it the same as the layout name, which I believe was 15. Style is fine, but we do want to make sure that it's right aligned instead of left aligned, and click OK. And then come in here and make sure that we apply that project title paragraph style, just like that. All right, and let's do this one more time. Hit apply and close. And yeah, so this is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the design here. This is kind of exactly the way that I want to see it. All right, now let's go to the bottom because I do want to add some footers on the first page. On the first page footer, what I wanted to show is that Jason Loffredo Music Services tag right here. So let's open this up. And again, if you're OCD like me, you can get these frames exactly how you want it. So this one, I'm going to make the height exactly 25 inches. And this is using the copyright paragraph style, but I'm going to do something different here. And also I'm going to change this to the project info copyist, right? And again, let me just make a new paragraph style for this. Let's see, default text, duplicate. I'm going to call this footer center. And I'm going to make the size here. Let's make it 9 point. Regular font is fine, and make sure that it's alignment center and hit OK. And then again, just select this and we're going to find footer center. All right, and it's using the project copyist token, And I'm going to copy left, right, and apply, and that should give us the Jason Loffredo Music Services at the bottom here, just like I want, right? Okay, so now I'm happy with the first page. Let's move on to the second page and the third page and beyond. Now for all of the other pages, you can see if you select them over here, it's going to use the default page template, right? So we're going to edit this one instead. So we're going to double click that. And now this is usually where the left and right is a little bit more important, especially if you're using page numbers on the outside corners. And you can see that Dorico initially sets this up with the page numbers on the outside corners. So if that's what you want, then you're good to go. Now for me, for this commercial type of film score, I actually prefer to have the page numbers in the center. So I'm actually going to delete these two text frames on the outside corners and basically start over. And what I'm going to do here is give myself a little bit of room. So let me just move this in 25 millimeters and 25 millimeters. And I don't want the project title here. What I want is the flow title, space, dash, space. I'm going to insert the flow subtitle, space, dash, space, PG, period. And then I'm going to use a different type of token in the pages section called page number, right? So that will give me what I want. And what I'm going to do, this is using what's called the header paragraph style. So that's good. Let's edit that though. Let's go here, paragraph style, find header. It's set to 10. Let's actually make it a little bit larger. Let's make it 11. It's set to center, so that should be good to go. All right, so that's good to go, and it's already applied, so that's good. The other thing I want on the every running page is the layout name. So again, I'm going to add another text frame in the upper left-hand corner. And we're going to call this, actually make it a little bit larger, and make sure that the constraints are upper left. I'm going to double click in here, and we're going to add the layout name. And it's still using the default text, but what I'm going to do here, and actually, let me do this, make sure that that's top aligned. And let's make another paragraph style based on the header. Now this time I'm going to actually duplicate the header, and I'm going to call this header left. And the only change here, I'm going to leave the size the same. The only change I'm going to make is in the alignment so that it's left aligned instead, and click OK. And now I'm going to select this and apply header left. And I'm going to do the same thing on the right. I'm going to add the movie title on the right. So add another text frame here. Give myself some room. Make sure it's constrained to the upper right. And we are going to add the project info title, right? That's the movie title. Make sure that the frame is top aligned, and I'm going to create another paragraph style, again duplicating the header, and we're going to call this header right. So you can make like sort of hierarchical parents here, right? So the header paragraph style, the parent of the header is a default text. The parent of the header right and header left is actually the header. So I guess the default text is the grandparent of these new text styles, paragraph styles. And we are going to make sure that this right one is right aligned. And we're going to apply that header right to that, right? So now we have the project title. Make sure we copy left, right, apply. We're getting there. Now I want a footer. Now this is where that extra margin comes in play. So I've set the bottom margin to 1/4 of an inch where everything else is 1/2 an inch. So what I'm going to do here is actually pull up the music frame margin 1/4 of an inch to compensate. So 0.25 IN. And then I have some room for another footer here. So I'm going to use my text frame, and I'm going to put a footer on the right side here. And we can, again, make sure that our constraints are correct. We can set the height to exactly 0.25 IN. And what I'm going to use here is actually the revision dates. If we remember, that was the flow info composition year, right? And make sure that this is bottom aligned now. And again, I'm going to make yet another paragraph style based on the footer center. I'm going to use this as the parent for a new one called footer right. And the only change that footer right is going to be is the alignment is going to be right instead of center, and click OK. And of course, apply that footer right paragraph style just like that. And I think I should be pretty good to go. Let's see. yeah, I've got my running headers, I've got the concert score, I've got the title with the subtitle, the page number, and the movie title. Now, if I did want, I guess I could also italicize that subtitle. Let's just do that. And in this case, I'm not going to bother with an extra paragraph style. In this case, maybe I'll just go in here and do this a la carte. Select that, italics. That should do it. Yeah, so I'm very happy with this. This is exactly the way that I want to see it. The title, subtitle, the page number, the movie title, the layout name on the right, the revision date on the bottom right corner, and that will persist on all of the pages going forward, right? Now, what's really cool about using these paragraph styles is that now that they're all set, if you need to make a change to something, it's very easy to do. And especially with those hierarchy of paragraph styles, like the headers, if I decide all of the headers are just a little bit too small, right? Now I can go into the paragraph style and find the header paragraph style. And remember, header left and header right are using the header as a parent. So all I have to do is change the header size and click OK, and it will actually change the size of all three, right? So that's kind of taking advantage of the hierarchy of the paragraph styles there. And of course, the great thing about this is that now you can go here, and if you wanted a completely different font, all you have to do is go to the default text and choose a different font. If I wanted to do Times New Roman instead, I can just choose Times New Roman for the default text and click OK, and everything on the page gets changed to Times New Roman. The thing is that if you had changed the font here, like if you had gone in here and selected this and then set the font here, like anytime you make those changes to the default text, it's not going to change those because whatever changes you made in the page templates directly are not using the paragraph styles now. So it's really useful to use those paragraph styles in this way. And I can just undo to get back to the other font if I wanted to. All right, so that's the score. So let's look at one of the parts. And we look at one of the parts and we realize, okay, none of that got put on the parts. Again, it's because the page template sets are different for the parts. And in fact, if you open this up, you'll see there's a default full score page template set and a default part page template set, and they are different. This provides you a lot of power because it means that you can design the titles on the parts completely differently than the score. Imagine trying to do that in Finale with linked parts. It's nearly impossible. I mean, you can hide things and add things and hide them. It's a huge pain in the neck. So what we have to do now is redesign exactly what we did with the parts. Except there's an easier way. And the easier way is with this fourth button down here called Import Page Templates. So while you're viewing a part and while the default parts page template set is showing here, just press this button and you'll get this window, and it's going to ask you to import the page templates from where. In this case, I'm importing it from the default full score page template sets. I'm going to do the first, and I'm going to do it one more time for the default. And now I kind of have the correct thing, except there's one problem here. You note that the very first page, it's not using the first page template, it's using the default. There's sort of a strange reason for this. I mean, I understand what it is, but you have to go in and edit the page templates one more time. This has to do with the frame chains of the music frame here. Now, the frame chains, again, I've mentioned this before, but the frame chains allow you to do things like put the two parts of a four-hand piano part on left and right page spreads in a clever way. But what Dorico is doing here is it's literally copying the music frame chains from the score, but that's not really what you need here. You need this to be the normal frame chains, and currently it's set to MN here, but it really needs to be MA. That's the main frame chain for music, and just change that to MA, change this one to MA, hit apply, and you have to do the same thing for the default. Set this from MR to MA, from MR to MA, hit apply, and close, and that should fix it all. And you can see, just like that, you've basically duplicated the page template design from the score into the parts. Now, one other thing I'm going to show you about paragraph style specifically, so note that in the concert score, right, the design is such that there's a nice amount of space between the items, right? There's plenty of white space, but in the parts, you can see it's a little bit more on top of each other, right? Obviously, the parts pages are a lot smaller. That's what's going on. The score pages is much bigger, so there's a lot more spread, right? But you can change the font sizes independently on the parts in the paragraph style. So if I go in here and we look at, let's say, the title, you see that it's set to size 32, but there's another option here, size in parts. So if you check that, you can actually reduce this to something much smaller, let's say 26, and hit OK, and then it will change just for the parts. It will change that to 26. So you can have two completely different font sizes in the paragraph styles between the score and the parts. So let me just do this a little bit quickly. Subtitle we can make a little bit smaller. Let's make this 14. What was the other one? Revision date. We can make a little bit smaller in the parts. Let's see, maybe the title and the layout name can be a little bit smaller. Layout name in the parts, let's make this 13.5. Same thing with the project title. We'll make that 13.5 to match. Click OK. Yeah, it's already a little bit better. Maybe the composer's a little bit large. We'll do that one too. Composer. Select size and part. Let's make that 12. Maybe our running headers are definitely too large. You can see it's actually overlapping. So again, with the headers, we only have to change the one, right? Just change the main one. Let's change this to like 10.5. Does that work? That's a little bit better. Maybe even 10. Yep, we got a lot more room. With maybe we'll do the same thing with the footers. Again, the footer center is the main one. We'll make this like 8 point. Yeah, so pretty quickly you can have a difference between the text sizes in the score and the parts just by taking advantage of all of the options that are available in the paragraph style. You know, again, Finale doesn't have anything like this. It's not unique to Dorico, but it's, as far as music notation applications are concerned, this is a pretty unique system and really powerful. Now, just to point out, in the right-hand column here, I've been talking about the pages here. I've been talking about the page templates. Below that, there's a flow headings, and there's a flow heading default thing here. And this is another design that you can have, and you can use flow headings for flows, like, you know, movements and stuff like that. There's also page template sets. So currently there's 2 page template sets, but you can actually add extra page template sets. So if you have like a special kind of score, maybe it's a piano vocal score, and you want that to be a slightly different design, you can actually create a whole new page template set and then apply that page template set to a specific layout as you want to, and you can do that in the layout options. Let me just pull up another file here real quick. This is actually from one of my musical theater templates, in which I am actually using multiple flows. You can see I've got, let's see, where is it? The main song title and then the song title reprise over here, right? And you can see that it kind of sits on the same page. This is one of the advantages of using flows in Dorico. For this violin 1 part, I have it set so that the reprise or the flows can be on the same page as the previous one. Or I think I did this in the keyboard parts. Let me just see here. If I go to the second flow, yeah, or you can have it set so that the new flow always appears on the next page. And this is all set in the layout options, by the way, under the page setup for flows. There's a bunch of options for things like new flows, always start a new page, allow an existing page, use the first page template, any flow starting at the top of the page, etc. This is for the keyboards, but you see I have it set differently for the violin, which is allowing on existing pages. You know, there's just a bunch of options that will allow you to do things, including the top margin of the flows. So if the violin part, let me just go back to that so you can see this. If you decide that the violin, the second flow here is too close, you can set that here by just changing this margin, and that would just get it a little bit farther away. So there's a bunch of options in the layout options for how these flows exist. And again, the design of the flow headers is all in this section here. You can see I've kind of have this designed the way that I want it to be designed. And the other thing I want to point out in this particular template here is you can see that in the page templates, I have more than just the default and first page template. In fact, I have a first page VS template here and a VS page template. So what this means is that now I have extra page templates that I can use in certain ways, right? So if I need a blank page before page 2, what I can do is go over to the pages here, right click, and there's an option here for insert pages. And this will ask you where you want it, yes, before page 2, and using what page template, right? So if I set the VS page here, what's going to happen is I'm going to get a blank page. There's no music frame on this page, so that's why there's no music here. You just have this text frame in the middle that says VS. So it makes these VS pages really pretty quick. And you can do the same thing here. I have one for the first page VS that looks like this. So you have all the titling information with the VS, and then it starts on page 2 and an extra VS here. So that's one advantage of, or one way to use these page templates. There's a lot of other ways. If you're doing things with like worksheets and you want to set up a bunch of music frames on multiple pages, and you can have multiple music frames on the page, and use your page templates to design them in this particular way. There's the possibilities are endless with these page templates and everything. So anyway, I think that's it. I hope you get the idea about how to design these titles and use the page templates and the pages over here and paragraph styles. I hope this all makes sense. Anyway, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you soon on the next video.